Hi, I'm Fred Smith, talking about registrations on Yamaha Ranger keyboards, and today we're going to talk about saving your first registration. I see lots of posts from people who say, I tried to save my registration and I lost everything. So I want to go through the process and hopefully help you save some of the hair that you say you've been pulling out. So here's the situation. We have filled up the 8 registrations that we're allowed to have active on the keyboard, and we want more. So the first thing you need to do is save these somewhere. Okay, so to save these, we're going to go to J, hit the registration key, and I'm going to say save it, the 7 key, and I don't want to save it under that name, that's the default name, I want a different one. So I hit the delete key to get rid of that name, and we're going to call it Reg. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, change the case, Reg 1 we're going to say. Okay, save it. Okay, so now we've got Reg 1 saved. And the reason we saved it is because we want to add more registrations. So I'm going to just steal a style and use its OTS and save it. So we'll do an intro, and then A, and then B, and then C, and then D, and then we'll have an ending. So I've created 6 new registrations. Now here's where I think most people go wrong, is they say, oh, and now I want to go back to Reg 1 and load it because I had something on it. So I'm going to ask to load Reg 1, but as soon as I do, the keyboard says, no problem, Mr. Smith, I'll be happy to load Reg 1 for you, but you changed the active registrations. What would you like me to do with them? And your choices are cancel, meaning, well, forget that I ever hit the Reg 1 button. Ask for a new registration, leave it alone. That's what cancel means. No would mean, oh, I don't want to save it, this stuff here is junk, and I didn't want it in the first place, throw it away. Well, we certainly don't want that. We do want to save what we've got in the active registration, so we say yes. And now it gives us a button to say save, so we have to hit the save button. And we certainly don't want to have it saved under the same name as the other one. We want to create a different one. So we're going to delete that, and we're going to call this Reg 2. So now I've got 2 separate registration banks. These files Yamaha calls banks. So I've got the Reg 1 bank, and I've got the Reg 2 bank. And what I've got loaded is Reg 1. So let's go back and get my Reg 2 again, because if you remember, I saved only 6 registrations in this new Reg 2, and most people like to keep the registration banks clean, and I'm one of them, so we're going to see what else we can do with registrations. So we'll go click the J key, and here's something neat. We've got an info button. The top 6 button will give you information about your registration. You can see in registration number 1, I've got concert guitar. I have these voices loaded, but I haven't made them active. And here I've got the style that I'm using. This one starts with a fill, all sorts of neat stuff. And here's what's in 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if you want to get a quick picture of what's in your registrations, you can use the info button. We want to take a look at this edit button. So what edit allows you to do is 2 things. Number 1 is you can rename the registration. Remember, this is not the bank, it's not the file, it's the actual registration number 1. So you could say, instead of this verbiage, you could say, oh, this is the one I used to play My Way, and this is the one I used to play Rock Around the Clock. You could put whatever name you wanted. But you can also get rid of registrations, and that's what we're going to do here. We're going to delete. Remember, we didn't use 7 and 8 in this registration, so I'm going to say 7, 8. That's okay. Of course, it's going to ask, and I'm going to say, yes, I want to. But just to point out that this is in error. You're not deleting the file. You're simply deleting what's in the registration number 7 and 8 itself. Okay, so yes to all of that. And then you'll see what I've got over here is I've got just the 6 registrations that I've stored, and 7 and 8, which carried over from the previous bank, I've deleted. So the light goes out on those. So I know I only have 6 registrations that I'm using here. So there you go. And now when I load Reg 1, it's going to say, Fred, you made changes to the active registration. What would you like to do with that? I would say, yes, I'd like to save it. Got to hit the save button. It's not smart enough to do that on itself. And here, we do want to replace Reg 2 because I've just updated it. So I say, okay, and yes, and off you go. So now I've got 2 separate registration banks that I can go back and forth between. And once you start getting used to this, you start creating all sorts of banks. So hopefully that will help you store your first registration bank, and you won't end up with as little hair as I have. You'll be able to keep more of it. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.